Hello, everyone. Justin McGill. I want to talk today about something that people have been asking me for a lot of years, but especially in the current situation, and that's how do I make a difference? How does one person bring about any kind of change in government or in policy? Um, and the answer to that is one person doesn't really make the change. You have to get organized, and from that point, you can move forward. First thing for organization is you have to be educated to a certain extent in how changes are brought about, in the fundamental principle that's being discussed. Um, so if we're discussing what government can and can't do, we need to understand what is the fundamentals of government. So the founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence wrote that the purpose of government was to be a defender of our God-given inherent natural rights to life, liberty, and personal property. So if we believe that's what the fundamental purpose of government is, we can then measure all government activity against that. So it's important to do our research to understand not only what the situation is, but what fundamental principles are optimal to move us forward. So we do our research, we learn a little bit about the common sense of the Patriots when they founded this country, and then how do we organize? Most people, when they think about organizing to push back against government, it's a party lines that things normally fall into on their minds. And most people only know about the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, which are two parties, and they're two national parties. But there's a whole lot of parties out there. There's actually 5 national parties: the Democrat and Republican Party, the Constitution Party, the Libertarian Party, and the Green Party. Those are the 5 national parties. And then there's a whole gamut of different parties and associations throughout states and local levels. I'm the executive vice chair of the Pennsylvania Constitution Party, and we're affiliated with the National Constitution Party. So there's a lot of different parties that you can affiliate with. There's a lot of different ways you can organize within a party structure. But it doesn't need to remain just in the party. You can also organize in conglomerates. So the Constitution Party of Pennsylvania is currently working with the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania and the Green Party of Pennsylvania on ballot access issues. So it doesn't have to be limited to just our party that's working on something. We can also work together with other parties to achieve a common end. And there's various other organizations that people can organize into that don't have to be a political party. So whatever goal you're trying to achieve, it's simply a matter of finding other people who have like-minded idea on that issue and getting together and formally or informally organizing. So an informal organization would be simply a bunch of people that share the same view getting together and calling your representative, putting pressure on the elected officers simply by the amount of numbers that are being reflected in their daily call volume or email intake or mail intake. So when you think organization, don't just think political parties, and don't just think organized parties. Organization formally is a good thing because it provides broader recognition than an informal organization might. So if you organize formally, you have a platform that your group stands on, or you have a single issue that you focus on, it can really draw a lot of attention. So we remember a few years back, the Tea Party was a big thing. They weren't necessarily a formal organization with a platform. It was just a lot of people who were really sick of the way government was wasting our money, who started getting together in rallies and making a lot of noise. Something else to understand with organizing is you need to understand in what ways you can influence things. So there's private, there's public, and there's government sectors. Most people put public and government together. I'm separating those two here. We'll discuss a little bit why. But when it comes to private, you've got private companies spending their monies in certain ways, offering certain products, and we can organize to put pressure on them by either refusing to buy their products or refusing to buy certain products. And as long as we have a good goal that we're putting out there, that company can respond to our purchasing or lack thereof to adjust how they spend their money. When it comes to a public group, and by public I mean an organization that is non-governmental but is still collecting public funds for public use. So sometimes there's park organizations, there's well-being groups, orphanages sometimes are public groups, not necessarily a private organization. Those groups often depend on other people's generosity and giving in order to get by. So when it comes to causing policy changes in those groups, it can be a simple matter of organizing the donors or organizing new donors in order to put pressure on them to take it a certain direction. When it comes to government and organizing and putting pressure on government, we need to understand how they operate. We need to understand what areas have been provided for us to address them. So if you have a town council or a city council meeting, it usually happens once a month on a regular basis, sometimes more often than that. They have opportunities for people to come and speak to them. They have certain meetings for specific topics that they bring people in to talk about, or they allow people to voice opinions on. When it comes to Congress for your state, it's a little bit more regular. They meet more often. They have a specific schedule or agenda that they often follow. So we need to understand how those government bodies operate, and we need to understand what ways we can have an influence on them. So if they're an elected official, we can definitely have an influence on them by threatening to withhold votes, or we can have a positive influence by getting out the votes for those individuals that are doing a good job. And this being an election year of the presidential election on down, we have a lot of different government actors that we can influence that way. And that's part of the reason why I'm a member of the Constitution Party. We can put pressure on government by simply not being part of the party that they are trying to get us to be a part of. So we're having a ballot access issue right now because the Republican and the Democrat Party have control over the ballot access. So if you're a Republican running for office in the state of Pennsylvania, the signature requirements to get on the ballot are far lower than the requirements for those of us who have not held a state position or have not hit the high bar that the Democrat and Republican Party are insisting that we hit in order for them to allow us to get on the ballot. So we're pushing for more of an equal position on that. It's not necessarily a bad thing to be having signature requirements in order to get on the ballot. We want to make sure a candidate is somebody who is recognized at least in a smaller area as being worth our time to have them running. So a signature requirement isn't necessarily bad. However, requiring somebody to get 20,000 signatures is really designed just to prevent anybody who doesn't have their level of organization, their level of membership, from getting on the ballot. So we need to understand how our voter registration appears to them. We need to understand how to write legislature and how to get somebody to sponsor it. We need to understand how those all interwork. So I would like to encourage everybody, first and foremost, do your research. Understand the fundamentals of the topic that you're looking to influence. Understand how your government entity works that you're looking to influence. And then once you have an idea, then organize or get together with organizations that already exist. The more people that you have, the more bodies, the more influence you'll be able to have over your government. Our representatives are there to represent us. They're not there to control us. So get together, organize. Don't just talk about it, but actually put together a plan to do something. Depending on what level you're trying to influence, maybe you can get to meetings, or maybe there's other people who can get to meetings. Maybe you can get somebody to run for office or to be on the board of the public entity you're trying to influence. Maybe just showing up and voicing your opinion is what's needed to cause the difference to happen. But either way, I definitely encourage everybody, if you feel strongly about an issue, join an organization or create an organization, get members to join it, put together a purpose, a mission statement, a platform, and move forward with it. Don't just sit back and let things happen to you. Get out there and make a difference. Thank you.